today's video we're making this lovely dress you're seeing right now on your screen. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Okpemi Ella. Please like, comment if you have any question. Okay, I have my fabric folded in two. I took the edge from the down parts of both sides to meet each other, and then I'll flip it again to the other side just to have it folded in 4 places, exactly the way you are seeing it. And to fold it first, I ensure the length is going to be equal to the length I desire for this gown. So after that, I just went ahead to mark out the neck measurement, which I used 3.5 and 3. Then I connected it together, and from there I just took it down to get my shoulder measurement, and from the shoulder I slanted down by 1 inch, just the normal basic shoulder mark out. So from there I just took my tape rule down to get the perfect armhole, and I marked it down about 9 inches downward, and I connected it together. After that, I just took my tape rule downward about 13.5. That is my underbust. This is not really necessary to mark out. Then I went down to 16.5 for my half length, and from 16.5, which is my half length, I came down again to about 10 inches, which stands for my hip line. After that, I connected the armhole, and from the angle I came up about 1 inch, and I cuff it up and downward just to get my perfect armhole cuff. And you can see now I have my bust line, my waistline, and my hip line. So now I'm going to be dividing my measurement, the circumference of my bust, dividing it by 4, and I marked it, and I added extra 4 inches allowance. Then I just went straight to the hip line that I marked. I divided the circumference of my hip by 4, and I added about, on this hip I added 5 inches allowance. Then I took the same measurement I marked on my hip line, I took it to the down parts, I marked it all through the down part, and I connected it upward to the hip line, then upward again to the bust line that I marked down. Don't forget, on the bust I just added 4 inches allowance, on my hip I added 5 inches allowance, and I went ahead to cut it out. So I will cut out the shoulder following the slants, and for the neck I just want the same neck depth to be for the back, and that's why I just cut together. Later on I'm going to be taking the front part more deeper for the neck side. So you can see now I have the 2 pieces for both back and front together, just the way I folded the fabric enabled me to have this. At this point I was just marking out the pockets where I'm going to fix the pockets, just marked out on both sides of the clothes, and I went down into 18 inches from the shoulder measurement. After that, I separated the fabric just to have the front parts alone. You can choose to pick any of it for the front part. Right now I have a paper stain placed on my fabric, and I'm just marking it. I marked from my shoulder to about 40 inches, so I just went ahead to mark it and cut it out. After I'm done doing that, I'll just get from my armhole exactly where I placed my tape rule. I took it down about 6 inches, and I slanted it to the center of the paper, exactly the way you're seeing it. And this is just a simple step on how to get the perfect design that was on the fabric. You know, now this my paper was not on fold, so to get the lace is going to be on fold. So folding the lace now, placing the paper, then I'm going to be cutting out exactly. And if you notice very well, I didn't just cut exactly, I left about 0.5 inches, and now cutting it out, you can see perfectly what I have here. Now going back to the next side, so I went down now about 1.5 for the neck. So total depth for the neck I marked is about 3.5. Then for the wideness is also 3.5. But for the back, remember I just marked about 2 inches. And for the armhole curve, so at the center of the armhole, I went deeper 0.5, and from there I just trimmed it down and I cut it out to avoid any form of budding on the armhole. So after I'm done doing that, so I just place my lace fabric on the clothes, and this is the velvet bias, as it's called, I'm going to be using to design just exactly the way you see from the style. Okay, let's proceed to the sleeve part. So I have my fabric folded in 2 first, then I folded it again, making it in 4 places, and I marked from the edge 3 inches downward, and from there I just went down about 10 inches just to get my flare kind of shape, and after that I cut it out. Then again to that same edge I went down 9 inches and I make a kind of right angle there, and from there I cuff it up about 1 inches, and I'm going to take it down to cut it down. And this is the part that is going to enter the armhole. This is just a mini flare sleeve. Proceeding to the sewing part, so I laid the lace straight on my fabric, making the wrong side of the lace to face the right side of the fabric, so that the right side of the lace will be outward, and I secured it with my pin, and I went ahead to just sew it round exactly the way I place it on the fabric. Another way you can secure your lace on the fabric is to put an Emmy gum downward of the lace, but you have to iron it very well. So I use the same Emmy gum to secure the velvet first on the fabric before I sewed it. Okay, if you notice, you see one velvet part that is a kind of rough, so I'm not using the Emmy gum to secure it first, but I sewed it straight and I noticed it was so rough, so I had to loosen it. So while ironing it, it's better to place a fabric on it to iron so that you avoid it getting burnt. So for the design that went downward, it is better you fold your fabric in 2 and iron it to get the center part very well. Then place it there, put your Emmy gum, gum it down and sew it. So I advise not to sew it straight without using Emmy gum, and sometimes you can just secure it with Emmy gum alone. Then for the back part, I use bias to make an O. I open it up, I just open it up, the center of the back, open it up, use bias to turn it inwardly. Then I put a kind of hook or loop, whatever. I put it at the edge, the neck, towards the neck side, so that I'm going to fix a button on the other side of it. I did this to make it more comfortable to put it on, because remember, yes, it's a free gown and it's going to be not body or very free, but for the neck to be able to enter perfectly. Then this is the pocket. I have a video on my channel where I explain how to put a very nice pocket on either skirt, gown, whatever you want. And this is the pocket. So if you want, this is just an option. If you want your dress to have a pocket, go ahead and fix pockets. So at this point, we've done the most tedious part of the work. So I'm just going to connect the back part to the front part. First, I connected the shoulder together. Then I piped the neck of the front with a bias. Okay, after I'm done doing that, I took my sleeve, connected it to the armhole. After I was done connecting the sleeve to the armhole, then I took the measurements. Remember when I was measuring it, for the bust part I added about 4 inches allowance, so I just sewed it down, leaving about 1 inches on both the hip parts. All the parts I just left about 1 inch allowance downward. You can see the mark right there, so that's where I just took it down. Then for the down part I folded it down, and that's all, guys. So this is how the sleeve looks. I turned it with lining, and thank you for watching. See you in my next video.